What's going on, Packer fans? Welcome into the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. For those of you who didn't catch my video yesterday, make sure to check it out. It's kind of part one of this part two series or two-part series. Yesterday, I went over 2018 Jordan Love's film and my 12 observations from that. I did a huge article on 2018 Jordan Love last year for Packer Report. Same thing with 2019. Watching all of his tape, and as I mentioned yesterday, seems even more appropriate now to kind of discuss this and review it now than it did a season ago. So today I'm going to be going over Jordan Love's 2019 film, and hope you enjoy it. If you do, make sure to subscribe and make sure to like and comment below. But now I'm going to jump right in and get to my 12 observations from Jordan Love's 2019 tape. So first of all, my biggest observation in 2019 is that Jordan Love had 32 turnover-worthy plays in a 13-game season. That's per Pro Football Focus, but it was easy to see. The stat was per Pro Football Focus, but it's easy to see the turnover-worthy plays on tape as well. The bigger thing is that there were 3 games in which he had no turnover-worthy plays. So those 32 turnover-worthy plays came in 10 games. So 3.2 turnover-worthy plays in those 10 games that he played. Again, he had 3 where he was perfect, but you saw a lot of these nonetheless. And I mentioned yesterday, just what turnover-worthy plays that we saw on tape. And it was, again, not reading defenses, trying to do too much, and predetermining throws. I thought, again, the biggest thing that reared its ugly head in 2019 was identifying defenses pre-snap and understanding what type of defense he was throwing into. And again, we saw all of those things as well. We saw him trying to do way too much, and at times he had to do way too much. There were games like against, LSU where he just was... The entire team was so overmatched. Like, he had to be Superman to try to get anything done. So there's definitely a part of that too. But far more often than not, my biggest concern off of it was just he was throwing without understanding where he was throwing. And there were times, again, where linebackers would just drop off into simple zone coverages, and he just didn't see him and would throw it right to him. There was one specific play on tape where he threw into coverage, didn't see the linebacker dropping, and didn't see a corner in this. Like, he didn't see 2 players in the same zone. Like, literally 2 players would have had the opportunity to pick off the pass. So he has to play with better vision and understanding what defenses are doing, or these turnover-worthy plays are going to become even more troublesome when he gets to the NFL. And I think the bigger thing here is, I mentioned when I was going through the 2018 tape that this was a red flag in 2018 as well. It's all these different type of turnover-worthy plays. So what do you want to see in 2019? You want to see him improve upon that. You want to see him not try to be as much of a hero. You want to see him throw without, predetermining where he's going to go. You want to see him do a better job of reading defenses. Instead, it was the exact opposite. Not only did he not learn from it, but he regressed in 2019 and threw even more of those type of throws. And again, part of it was the extenuating circumstances of the just not having the same talent around him, not the same coaching staff, different system, all of those things. But it remained the case that he did a bad job of reading defenses, identifying defenders, and throwing into coverage, which is, again, something he's going to have to improve. Number 2, he has to better understand defenses. And there are times where he reads defenses perfectly, and there's others where he simply looks lost. And it's weird, right? So there are times where you will see him pick apart a defense, and you will see him identify pre-snap what they're doing, go through progressions, look off defenders. Like, you see all of it at different times. There's other times where he looks utterly confused or just stubborn, where it's like, and it's tough to tell which one it is. It's tough to tell if he's confused and not knowing what's going to happen, or if he knows what's happening and he's just trying to throw a hero ball anyway. And again, when you're just watching the tape, it's tough to discern which of the two that it is. Ultimately, it doesn't matter that much. It's something that he ultimately has to clean up. And you do want to see a quarterback that can identify defenses a little bit better and, again, make better decisions with the football. So this is something that, as a young quarterback, is tough for every young quarterback. Of course, you're not going to have a PhD in quarterbacking and reading defenses and understanding defenses. And as you watch Aaron Rodgers for a decade plus do this at a level that very few in the history of football have been able to do, it's easy to watch Jordan Love as a junior in college at Utah State with a crappy core around him and say, well, he's just not reading defenses as well. Well, no kidding, right? It's not going to be as good, but it is something that he's going to have to improve on and get better at as time goes on. Number 3 is this new offense that he was running was just disjointed from the word go. Now, if you're not aware, 9 of his 11 starters on offense were new players from 2018 to 2019. He had a new offensive coordinator. He had a new head coach. Everything was changed around him, and he never looked to have the same level of comfort, the same level of confidence. It just was disjointed all around him. And that is a very tough thing for a player like Jordan Love. He's coming off a phenomenal 2018. And you can't go to the draft yet because you're a sophomore. So all you want to do is carry over that momentum and carry over everything into 2019. And instead, he gets a brand new supporting cast. He gets a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator, and a new system that he has to learn. And it just didn't work for a variety of reasons. And in no way, shape, or form is that all on Jordan Love, or even is the majority of it on Jordan Love. I just don't think he had the pieces around him. And I don't think the coaching staff did a great job of utilizing and really understanding what Jordan Love did well. We could get into the coaching in 2019 in a whole nother episode, but I'm a huge believer that as a coach, you need to, bend and mold your system around the talent that you have on your team. And I think the coaching staff did a great job with Jordan Love in 2019 and really focusing on what Jordan Love did best. And maybe that was due to the pieces around him. Maybe they just didn't think that what Jordan did best is what the rest of the team could actually handle. So they tried to make Jordan change instead of everyone else. It either way, it was just disjointed from the word go, and you have to take that entire 2019 season in a way with a grain of salt because it was totally different, and you could see that from the start of the season. Number 4 is that supporting cast that I just mentioned let him down. There were touchdown throws that he should have had that his team just dropped or didn't execute on that he gave them plenty of opportunities to execute on. There were interceptions that bounced off a player's hands or that were due to pressure that was immediate because offensive linemen didn't do their job. I'm not making excuses for Jordan Love here. And as I started with this, observations for 2019, the first couple were things that Jordan Love needed to work on. It's also noteworthy that the team around him just didn't do him any favors either. And you go back to that LSU game from 2019, you were looking at Jordan Love as a really good player on the field. And then all other 10 players on Utah State were worse than the 10 players or 11 players, however you want to look at it, that were across from them on the other side of the field. You can't as Jordan Love look at one single matchup that you had with the rest of your team and say we're going to win that matchup. Every offensive lineman for Utah State that was going up against an LSU defensive lineman or edge rusher was outmatched. Every single receiver that was going up against an LSU corner was outmatched. All of it. So they just were not in a position in any way, shape, or form, or Jordan Love wasn't in a position that anything was going to work. They were just outgunned everywhere. So he just didn't have the support system around him, and that supporting cast that he did have let him down on numerous occasions. Number 5, this is something that you could see easily on tape, but this is something that's been confirmed by numerous players and numerous coaches that have been talked to in the media and interviewed and things like that. Jordan Love remained even-keeled throughout everything. New offense, new players around him, new offensive coordinator, new head coach. Team wasn't doing as well. He was throwing more interceptions than normal. He wasn't having the level of success he was used to, and he was the same guy play in and play out, down in and down out. Didn't matter if they were up by 21 or down by 21. He was going out there and executing at the level that he felt he needed, or that the best that he could. And there's a lot of different type of leaders, right? There's the Drew Brees type. Aaron Rodgers is more, not quite as he's definitely outspoken when he's upset at players, but definitely not more the rah-rah, I'm going to fire you up type of leader. Like Jordan Love is more the lead by example, and my calmness and my work ethic is going to guide you through what you need to do. I'm not saying for certain that Jordan Love can't be a motivating quarterback. I didn't necessarily see that, but that's not something you can always pick up on tape, right? But his demeanor and his calmness through everything was very, very evident, especially in 2019. And especially as everything was sort of crumbling around him, there was no panic. There was no chaos. It was just calm at all times from Jordan Love. And that's something that I think is definitely something that he's going to be able to carry over into the NFL. The next one is that his release, this may sound weird, his release was almost just like too quick at times. And I think more is just that he was playing too fast. And this all goes back to him just not feeling comfortable in 2019. I think because he didn't have the offensive line, he was hurrying everything up. And I think because his wide receivers maybe weren't on the same page and he was trying to learn this new system, you could just tell the rhythm. And this kind of goes back to being disjointed with this offense and this team in 2019. Everything was just a step off. There was no rhythm and he was playing too fast. And I think if he would have just slowed down, if he could have even, again, a lot of that was the pressure and the offensive line play and how they were asking him to play. But I think if he could have just slowed things down a hair, I think that offense and even Jordan Love would have looked much better. Instead, everything looked a little bit rushed. Everything looked a little bit disjointed. And his release and how quickly he was getting rid of the ball was in a way too fast. And again, a quick release as a quarterback is a good thing. And getting the ball out of your hands and into your weapons' hands is a good thing. But he was doing it to an extent where the receivers weren't ready at times. Again, there was just no flow or rhythm to it. And I think that that's something that was, again, part of all that was going on in 2019, but also just something that I think he needed to slow down a little bit. Number 7 is he did display and do a better job of just throwing the ball away. In 2018, when I mentioned those turnover plays and turnover-worthy plays, again, he was forcing it a lot of times. We still saw him force the ball in 2019, but you also saw him grow in maturity and just knowing when to get rid of the football and throw it away and live to see another down. That's an important step as a quarterback. That's something that took Brett Favre an insanely long time, and you could argue that maybe he never really truly learned it. There's a time and a place to see another down or another series of downs, and there's a time and place where a punt's an okay thing. And Jordan Love took major steps in that regard in 2019 in throwing the ball away when he needed to throw the ball away and living to see another down. And again, I think that shows great maturity, and I think that shows that he was growing from 2018 to 2019, even though it wasn't the quote-unquote perfect season for him. Number 8 is there were a ton of screenplays. Pro Football Focus had him at 25% of his completions were screens. And you look at a player who has, low 60s completion percentage, you're thinking that this is a non-efficient offense. If you've got 25% of your completions as screenplays, you want to see that accuracy more up towards the 70%. So the fact that so many of his completions were screens and that you weren't seeing as much, certainly in comparison to 2018, of the throws and completions down the field, middle of the field, things like that. Again, it just goes to show you how much of a change this offense was. And again, it shows some of those overall accuracy concerns because, again, you want to see a much bigger accuracy percentage if you're throwing that many screen passes because those are such high percentage plays. And on the plus side is Jordan Love is really good at throwing screens. And that might be like, all right, Andy, like cool it a little bit. Like every quarterback is good at throwing screen passes, but to some extent that's true, but Jordan Love has the mobility and the variety of arm angles that when defenders are coming at you or you have to just, take a step back, buy a time, drop low to kind of get the ball there. He has all of those different off platforms and arm angles that can get it to screen players in a variety of different ways. And also on some of those outside and bubble screens, he does a great job of getting the ball, quick release, explosive ball out of his hands so that it gets to his receivers and running backs very quickly so that they can make their first move and start getting upfield sooner rather than later. So a lot of screen plays was noteworthy, but he is a very good screen passer at the same time. Number 9 is his accuracy just wasn't the same. And this again goes back to him playing too fast, the talent around him, the scheme, all of it. But this goes even further, that even when there were receivers that were open in the middle of the field, even there were receivers open down the field, he didn't have the same level of accuracy in 2019 that he did in 2018. And the weird thing about that, and again, I'm sure there are scouts out there who could define this, but as I looked at it, I didn't see anything different other than him playing too fast. That was the one thing that I could put my finger on where it just looked like he was playing too fast and just not in that rhythm. And again, when you're a quarterback in a offense that requires timing over the middle of the field, deep passes, things like that, your timing and your footwork are everything. And if any of that gets thrown off just a hair of a second, it can affect everything else, and it can force you to throw long or left or right, inaccurate, low, whatever the case may be. And we saw that from Jordan Love. For the most part, how he was handling the ball, his footwork, all of that looked the same. Again, the only thing I could identify was, again, just him playing just a tad bit too fast. Number 10 is I feel like defensive coordinators are going to have options against Jordan Love, especially, again, what he put on tape in 2019. So as you think about how you want to play Aaron Rodgers, like how do you want to play him? You want to keep him in the pocket. You don't want him to extend plays, and you want to make him throw the ball into contested catch situations because that's not what he likes to do. Other than that, there's not many options. You blitz him, he's going to beat the blitz. Like you play soft coverage, he's going to find the hole in the zone. Like there's only so many different things that you can do as a defender against Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady's, the Drew Breeses, all those things are the same. There's only so many things you can do because they're just such good quarterbacks, and there's certain things that just won't work against them. With Jordan Love, I think you have options. He struggled if you got immediate pressure, and he struggled with different variety of blitzes. So as a defensive coordinator, I'm going to start throwing blitzes at him and see if he knows how to handle those. Number 2, he struggled with complexity in zones and complexity of defenses. As I mentioned, he struggled at times to read defenses pre-snap. And if you threw exotic things at him post-snap, he would a lot of times throw the ball anyway and didn't always see the coverage that was dropping. So as a defensive coordinator, I feel like I can run a ton of exotic defenses, drop players in coverage, and hope that I'm going to trap him and I'm going to get some turnovers coming my way. I also think that Jordan Love's best trait is his ability to get the ball downfield and make plays off platform. So if maybe those other things aren't working, if blitzing's not working, if dropping into zones isn't working, I can play a more umbrella defense, take away his deep ball, and make him throw accurately, dinking and dunking the ball down the field without him getting those big chunk plays and hoping that his inaccuracy is going to come into play or his ability to force throws is going to come into play and he's going to screw something up before he reaches the end zone. So as a defensive coordinator, I go into a game with Jordan Love with a variety of tools at my disposal. Now, it's not to say that Jordan Love can't beat those. He has the ability, again, all of that ad-libbing and the tight window throws and his ability to throw the ball downfield. He has a lot of weapons at his disposal as well. But as a defensive coordinator, I feel like there's a few different things that I can go into my game plan with where I can, all right, let's try blitzing him first. All right, he's responding to that. Let's give him something exotic. Okay, he's responding to that. Let's play a little bit more basic. No big chunk throws down the field. Make him beat us with the little dink and dunk throws. So as a defensive coordinator, I feel like I've got some things in my arsenal. Now, maybe Love has the ability to beat all of them, but I think that's something he's going to have to prove in the NFL. Number 11, a more minor one, he played primarily in shotgun. So just playing under center, getting the footwork and the timing and all of that down is definitely something that he's going to have to work on as he transitions to the NFL. He's already seeming much more comfortable with it, or just comfortable with it, as I've seen him in OTAs and mini camps and doing a little bit more under center type work. And then last but not least, my last observation on Jordan Love from 2019 is that he is a player that trusts his playmakers around him. Even when he didn't have great playmakers in 2019, and you can maybe question that decision making, but he was going to give his receivers a chance to go up and make a play on the ball. And for as great as Aaron Rodgers is, his hesitancy to throw into coverage is known. And again, that relates into a very small interception percentage and almost no turnovers, but it also takes away at times the playmaking ability of his wide receivers because he's so unwilling to throw into any coverage, even if it's single coverage. There are times when you're Jordy Nelson, James Jones, Devontae Adams, Greg Jennings, etc., where even if you're covered, you're open because you're that good of a wide receiver. And Aaron Rodgers is hesitant to make those plays and just trust his receiver to go up and make a play on the football. He wants to throw the receiver who's open and not let anything up to chance or anything to risk. With Jordan Love, he trusted his receivers on the outside, his tight ends, his running backs, and he gave them a chance to go and make a play. And for the most part, I didn't see his turnover-worthy plays being as a result of that. I thought he was doing his job as a quarterback, distributing his football, and giving his receivers and his playmakers a chance to do their job at the same level that Jordan Love could do his. Those were my observations for Jordan Love. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I really enjoy bringing these deep dives and breakdowns to you guys. Again, if you liked it, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like or comment. It would mean a ton. I'll be back here, as always, with a brand new episode. We'll be back here 365 days a year. So make sure you're checking it out. If you haven't, again, subscribed, would very much appreciate it. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.